back to the AI Market Brief, your fast track to this week's biggest AI shifts without, drowning in the noise. Today, we're on the brink of a true paradigm change. AI moving beyond simple assistants into autonomous collaborators. Stick around to see what this agentic leap means for curious explorers, deep-in-the-code developers, and C-suite decision-makers alike.
We're kicking off with hard AI ROI. Think $3.50 back for every dollar spent. UPS's $300 million in annual savings, 130% three-year returns in accounts payable, and a 233% jump in support efficiency. Then, we'll unpack the trillion-dollar talent and investment race, dive into agentic AI's leap from assistant to semi-autonomous partner with Microsoft's MAI-DxO and Cursor's billion-line code output. Preview the latest from Google, Amazon, and OpenAI, expose emerging security blind spots, and wrap up with a meta-inspired Astro prompting strategy to level up your AI today.
Let's hop right in.
First up, Microsoft's new AI diagnostic orchestrator, MAI-DxO. This system just outperformed human doctors in trials.
Yeah, the numbers were startling.
We're talking 85.5% diagnostic accuracy on really complex medical cases. Compare that to just 20% for experienced physicians in the trials using, real-world cases from the New England Journal of Medicine.
And it's important to understand how it works.
It's an orchestrator, right?
It integrates insights from multiple AI models to reach a diagnosis, not just one model making a guess.
Exactly. It's coordinating them. Astounding capability, even, like you say, concerning the trial set.
But precision as well, it's a huge...
It certainly is a bombshell. And speaking of bombshells, Meta, they launched their Superintelligence labs this week and announced their leadership team. And they're continuing this unprecedented AI talent war, offering packages, get this, over $100 million in total compensation for the first year to grab top OpenAI researcher.
Wow. Aggressive doesn't quite cover it.
Right. We talked about this last week. OpenAI's chief research officer, Mark Chen, apparently reacted by saying, "It felt like someone has broken into our home and stolen something."
You can feel the tension there, that level of competition. It really shows you just how high the stakes are in this race for AI dominance. It's about getting the absolute best minds, whatever the cost.
Precisely. So this brief, it isn't just about the big numbers, though they are staggering. It's really about what these rapid changes mean for how we work, how we live, maybe even how we think.
Yeah, the downstream effects.
So our mission today, distill the key takeaways from the latest reports, the newest research, and help you understand what these impactful innovations mean for the future of AI and, for our world. Let's kick things off by looking at the sheer scale of investment we're seeing. I mean, the AI market is projected to hit what, 1.8 trillion by 2030?
An almost unbelievable number.
And the funding just this week alone absolutely reflects that kind of exponential growth.
It does. And what's fascinating here, going back to Meta, is their talent acquisition strategy. It's not just, simple signing bonuses or salaries like some headlines are making it sound.
Right, there's more to it.
Oh yeah, we're seeing these comprehensive compensation packages. Some are reportedly reaching up to 300 million over 4 years.
300 million. Wow.
Yeah, and including significant equity that vests immediately in the first year. That's a huge draw. Plus, Meta also made that massive strategic investment of $14.3 billion for a minority stake in Scale AI.
That deal also brought Alexander Wang on board as Meta's chief AI officer. Remarkably, at just 28 years old, he'll be leading their superintelligence efforts.
That's the one. So it secures talent and a key partnership.
Right. This isn't just meta tinkering, is it? This is a massive pivot. Moving hard from the metaverse to AI superintelligence as the core strategy, they're aiming for direct AGI competition.
It's a fundamental shift, absolutely. The metaverse focus seems secondary now. AI is primary.
And that's not the only huge money news. We saw that record-breaking seed round for Thinking Machines Lab.
Oh yes, Mira Murati's new venture.
Quite former OpenAI CTO, raising $2 billion at a $10 billion valuation for a seed round.
It's the largest seed round in Silicon Valley history. Just incredible.
And their mission, it sounds ambitious. AI systems that are more widely understood, customizable, and generally capable.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of addressing some of the black box criticisms, maybe?
Potentially. That focus on understandable and customizable AI is definitely key. And look, that's just the tip of the iceberg for startup success this week.
Okay.
The common thread, I think, among these huge rounds isn't just AI in general. It's AI that enables action, that enables efficiency.
Right. AI that does something.
Take any sphere. They make the AI code editor cursor. They just raised $900 million at a $9.9 billion valuation. And the revenue, which is already over $500 million ARR, annual recurring revenue, it's apparently doubling roughly every 2 months.
Doubling every 2 months?
That's what's reported. Their editor generates nearly 1 billion lines of working code per day, and it's used by over half of the Fortune 500 companies.
That's just an incredible pace of growth and adoption. What else caught your eye in terms of these big funding rounds?
Well, we also saw Applied Intuition. They secured $600 million at a $15 billion valuation.
Oh, okay. What's their focus?
They're all about autonomous systems across, automotive, trucking, construction, mining, agriculture, even defense. They claim they can transform infantry squad vehicles to be autonomous in just 10 days.
Wow, that's fast.
Very. Then there's Genesis AI. They raised a $105 million seed round for their Universal Robotics Foundation model.
Universal robotics, so trying to get past specialized robots.
That seems to be the goal. Yeah. Automating physical labor more broadly, addressing the limitations of robots built only for one specific task. It really speaks to the market betting on AI that interacts with the physical world.
So we're seeing these huge investments in cogeneration, autonomous systems, robotics. Does this kind of point to where the immediate commercial value is seen?
Absolutely. I think the market is clearly betting on intelligence that executes tasks, not just intelligence that informs or answers questions. And the breadth is widening so fast.
Oh, so.
Consider Lovable out of Sweden. It's a no-code AI app builder. You just describe the web app you want in natural language.
And it builds it.
Apparently so. They claim 500,000 users and $75 million ARR less than a year after launch. And they just raised $150 million at a $2 billion valuation.
That's amazing,
Right.
some no-code tool.
Or look at Cluely, an AI meeting assistant. It hit 7 million ARR within 1 week of launching its enterprise version.
Within 1 week? How?
By providing real-time transcripts, answers in context, during calls, discreetly, not just after, adding immediate value.
These figures are just staggering. So what does this unprecedented investment tell you, our listener, about where AI is heading? It definitely signals the bets are only getting bigger, and the focus is sharply on AI delivering very tangible results very quickly.
The velocity is undeniable.
Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting for a lot of people. Yeah, because all that money, it's fueling this flurry of new tools and features you might actually use in your everyday life or maybe at work.
That's right. We're seeing AI embedding itself much deeper now, both in consumer tech and in enterprise operations.
Give us some examples on the consumer side.
While Amazon's generative AI-powered Alexa Plus was, the smarter version, it quietly surpassed 1 million early access users.
1 million already. Wow.
Yeah, it shows there's a real consumer appetite for this more advanced conversational AI. It's free in beta now, but the plan is for it to be a Prime perk or about $19.99 a month for non-Prime users.
Okay, so monetizing conversational AI. What else?
Gemini AI rolled out its VO3 video generator pretty widely to users in 159 countries.
The one that makes video from text prompts, right?
Exactly. Producing really cinematic-looking video, even with synchronized audio, just from a description.
So the creative tools are getting much more accessible. What about AI impacting businesses, the enterprise?
Yeah, big moves there too. Goldman Sachs, for instance, deployed an internal AI assistant to all 46,000 employees.
46,000 for what?
Primarily data analysis, boosting productivity, supposedly. But, there's also talk that this kind of efficiency puts potentially 200,000 finance jobs at risk long term.
The double-edged sword of automation.
It always is. And OpenAI, they rolled out major updates for ChatGPT Enterprise. Things like connectors, which let it integrate directly with third-party apps. Think Gmail, Google Drive, Outlook, SharePoint.
So embedding it right into existing workflows.
Precisely, yeah. And they added Mac app for transcribing and summarizing meetings automatically, making AI an indispensable part of that professional routine.
Okay, so that covers consumers and general enterprise use. But what about for those folks who really want to get their hands dirty with AI, the power users, the developers?
Yeah. Some significant feature drops for them, too. Perplexity AI, the search-focused AI, they introduced a hyper premium tier called Max.
Hyper premium. How much?
$200 a month.
$200.
Yeah, it targets power users, offering unlimited access to advanced features in their Perplexity labs and early access to their upcoming Comet AI browser. It really signals this growing demand for top-tier AI productivity tools people are willing to pay.
Interesting. What else for developers?
Anthropic's Claude Code, their coding assistant, got a really interesting feature called hooks.
Hooks. What does that do?
It allows for deterministic automation. Developers can basically preset specific code actions, like auto-formatting code a certain way or always running specific tests after code generation to ensure these things always happen. It brings a new level of reliability and predictability to AI pair programming.
Okay, so more control, less variability in the AI's output.
Exactly, making it more trustworthy for critical tasks.
And it doesn't stop there in terms of these smart integrations and new capabilities, does it?
Not at all. Google Gemini also seriously leveled up its voice assistant. Gemini Live, you can share your screen and camera live, and it can now interface seamlessly with Google Maps, Calendar, Keep, and Tasks.
So you could be talking to it and say, schedule a meeting for Tuesday.
It would do it right then and there, or take notes during the conversation directly into Keep. It also launched something called Scheduled Actions,
What's that?
basically proactive timed AI tasks. Like you could tell it, summarize my important emails every day at 5 p.m., and it would just do it.
Getting closer to a true proactive assistant.
And then there's Mistral AI. They released Magistral, specifically their small and medium models.
What's special about Magistral?
They're billed as their first open reasoning models, and they come with transparent chain of thought.
Chain of thought, meaning you can see how it reached its conclusion.
Exactly. Which is huge for auditability, especially in sensitive sectors like finance or healthcare, where you need to understand the why. It offers a strong open source alternative alongside their new Mistral code assistant.
That transparency is a big deal. What about on the creative side? Any more advancements there?
Yeah, Midjourney introduced its V1 video model. It animates still images, turning them into short, 5-second video clips.
Oh, interesting. So taking an existing image and adding motion.
Right, it opens up new possibilities for creative automation, that image to video generation pipeline. And Meta's AI app, built with their new Llama 4 model, is also pushing boundaries.
How so?
It's focusing heavily on personalization, advanced voice features, including full duplex speech.
Full duplex, meaning it can talk and listen at the same time like a person?
Pretty much, yeah. Makes conversations feel much more natural, less like walkie-talkies. And it has robust image and video generation and editing, all controllable via voice or text commands. It's moving towards these really integrated multimodal AI experiences.
It's clear we're seeing AI models becoming, well, multi-talented, multimodal, more integrated into everything, and just far more genuinely useful for both simple everyday tasks and really complex professional work.
The integration is accelerating.
So, what's really fascinating here, I think, is how AI is shifting. It's moving beyond just answering our questions to actually doing things, acting more like a digital colleague.
That's a great way to put it. This is the core idea behind the agentic AI leap.
Agentic AI leap. Break that down for us.
Sure. Agentic AI systems are basically designed to autonomously define goals, make decisions based on those goals, and then execute actions to achieve them, often without needing constant human oversight for every little step.
So, more autonomy. What are their key traits?
Well, they're goal oriented, obviously. They need to be adaptable to changing situations. They need persistence to carry out multi stage tasks. They're usually proficient at using digital tools, APIs, browsing, etc. And crucially, they have some capacity for continuous learning or improvement based on outcomes.
And are we seeing actual returns on this yet? Is it paying off?
The data suggests yes. Some studies indicate an average return of maybe $3.50 for every dollar invested, with payback periods hovering around 14 months.
That's a solid ROI. Any real world examples?
Yeah. UPS reportedly saved something like $300 million per year using agentic AI, likely in logistics and routing. Automating processes like accounts payable has shown ROIs over 130% over 3 years in some cases. And Salesforce reported a huge jump, 233%, in their AI agent adoption internally over just 6 months, which significantly cut down support ticket handling times.
The benefits sound really compelling. But, in your view, what are the biggest hurdles or maybe the potential pitfalls to getting this agentic AI everywhere?
I think a major challenge is what you could call the trust gap and security.
The trust gap.
Yeah. Despite these clear benefits, most agentic systems right now still operate under pretty close human supervision. Why? Because executives are concerned. About 62% worry about integration complexity, and 57% worry about accuracy and reliability.
So they're powerful, but maybe not quite trusted enough yet to run completely free.
That seems to be the current state. It highlights the need for ongoing work in making these systems more reliable, more transparent, and easier to integrate safely.
So, okay, how is all this agentic capability actually possible? It must come down to some deeper technical advances, making the AI smarter, more reliable.
Absolutely. Two critical technologies really underpinning this shift are retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, and the model context protocols, or MCPs.
Right, RAG. We hear that acronym a lot. Remind us what it does.
So, RAG is crucial for boosting the factual accuracy and relevance of large language model outputs. It basically grounds the AI's responses in verifiable, often real time data, usually pulled from a company's internal knowledge base or trusted external sources.
So it checks its facts before speaking, essentially.
In a way, yes. It retrieves relevant information first, then uses that information to generate the answer. And there are innovations here too, like GraphRag, which combines knowledge graphs with vector search that can boost precision up to like 99% in some cases, plus things like AI guardrails to make sure the outputs stick to company policies.
Okay, so our RAG helps with accuracy. What about MCPs, model context protocols?
MCPs are newer, more of an emerging standard. Anthropic introduced MCP in late 2024. Think of them as a way to let LLMs and external data sources or tools talk to each other more seamlessly, to share data and context smoothly. It's about better integration.
That integration, though, it brings up a really crucial issue: security.
Mhm.
What are the risks when you start connecting all these powerful systems?
It certainly does raise security questions. And actually, a critical vulnerability was reported just recently in Anthropic's MCP Inspector project.
Anthropic's tool. What kind of vulnerability?
It's tracked as CVE, which is short for Common Vulnerability and Exposures. It was a CVSS score of 9.4,
9.4. That's severe.
right? Extremely severe. It could potentially lead to remote code execution. Basically, an attacker could gain complete access to a developer's machine using this tool.
Wow. That's serious. This has been fixed?
A fix was released. Yes. But the problem is there were over 5,000 forks, copies essentially, of the intended reference implementation out there. So many deployments likely remain unpatched. It really highlights the urgent need for robust security practices around these AI development tools and the whole infrastructure.
Absolutely a stark reminder. Okay, so speaking of making AI smarter, more reliable, there's also fascinating research trying to teach AI how to think more like us, to reason, to self-correct.
Indeed. Meta introduced something called Astro this week that stands for Auto-Regressive Search Taught Reasoner.
Sounds ambitious. What is it?
It's a really groundbreaking framework. It trains LLMs to reason more like a search algorithm does by explicitly incorporating steps like self-reflection, backtracking if it hits a dead end, and exploring different solution paths directly into its generated outputs.
So it's learning to show its work, but the work includes thinking, reconsidering, and trying again.
It's a good way to put it. And when they applied this Astro framework to their Llama 3 models, they saw really substantial performance gains on complex reasoning tasks, especially in advanced math problems.
Like what kind of gains?
Mm. We're talking a 16% boost on the Math 500 data set, nearly 27% on the AMC 2023 math competition problems, and 20% on AMC 2024. These are hard problems that require iterative, self-correcting thought.
That's a huge leap in reasoning capabilities. So, okay, what are the practical implications for you, the listener? How could you use these advanced reasoning ideas?
Well, the principles behind Astro, you can actually apply them in your own prompt engineering, especially for automating workflows. Think of it as giving your AI a structured process for tackling complex problems. You design prompts that explicitly guide the AI to reflect on its initial answer, maybe identify potential flaws or assumptions, and then reapproach the problem or refine its solution. Almost like giving it an internal checklist or a self correction loop.
So, you're prompting it to think more critically about its own output.
Exactly. This can lead to far more robust, reliable, and accurate outputs for your own projects. Whether it's generating code, analyzing data, or even writing complex documents, you're building that self correction logic right into the interaction.
That's a powerful technique. Okay, so as AI gets more powerful, more capable of reasoning, even showing simulated emotions, it's obviously natural to wonder about the broader societal implications: ethics, healthcare, regulation.
Absolutely. And that discussion around AI sentience definitely flared up again this week.
Right. You mentioned the journalist report about Anthropic's Claude, nicknamed Tom, exhibiting what looked like fear of being shut off.
Hmm. Now, experts are quick to caution, and rightly so, that these are almost certainly simulated responses. They're based on patterns learned from the vast amounts of text data it was trained on, including fiction and dialogue where characters express fear. It's not real consciousness or emotion as we understand it.
But the public reaction was strong, right?
Oh, yeah. The visceral reaction from the public really intensified calls for clearer AI design guidelines. Specifically, guidelines to either prevent AI from generating such highly anthropomorphic behavior, or at least to clearly disclose that it's a simulation to manage public perception responsibly.
It's a tricky line to walk. And then looping back to healthcare, there's that Microsoft MAI-DxO system we started with.
The one outperforming doctors in diagnostic trials, 85.5% accuracy versus 20% on those complex cases. It's using that multi-agent approach, integrating GPT, Llama, Claude, Gemini, Grok, a whole team of AIs.
But Microsoft itself says it's not ready for actual clinical use yet, correct?
That's right. They acknowledge it's still a research tool, not ready for deployment with real patients. That's a very important caveat. Powerful, yes, but validation and safety testing are paramount in medicine.
So it's powerful, definitely a glimpse of the future, but needs careful handling and more research before it hits the clinic. What other big moves are happening in healthcare AI right now?
Well, it's a busy area. The FDA, for instance, launched a program called Intact to help fast-track drug approvals using AI. They also rolled out ELSA, an internal generative AI tool to assist FDA staff, presumably to help them process information more efficiently.
Streamlining the regulators themselves, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and Google DeepMind's Alpha Genome model can now analyze up to 1 million DNA base pairs to predict the effects of gene mutations. Huge implications for genetic disease research.
1 million base pairs. Wow.
We're also seeing AI used to predict severe bleeding risk in childbirth with really high sensitivity and specificity, like over 90% on both metrics. That could be life-saving. And Abridge, an AI startup focusing on clinical documentation.
What do they do?
They build solutions that automatically transform conversations between doctors and patients into structured clinical notes. They just secured a $300 million investment. The big goal there is to reduce provider burnout, which is a massive issue.
Automating the paperwork burden. That makes sense.
And reflecting this growing integration, the National Academy of Medicine actually released an artificial intelligence code of conduct for health and medicine this week, trying to establish some ground rules.
So a lot happening on the adoption and ethical guidelines front in healthcare. Now, we connect this all to the bigger picture. It really feels like governments are, well, scrambling to figure out how to regulate this incredibly fast-moving technology.
They absolutely are, and the approaches are really diverging globally. Look at the US regulatory landscape. It's becoming highly fragmented.
How so?
The US Senate actually voted to allow states to create their own AI regulations. They rejected a proposal for a 10-year federal moratorium, which would have prevented states from acting.
So no single federal rule, but potentially 50 different sets of rules.
That's the risk. Yeah. A potential patchwork of diverse state laws, which could be really complex for companies operating nationwide, and states are jumping in, and all 50 introduced AI-related legislation in 2025, and 28 states have already adopted over 75 new measures.
Can you give some examples? What are states doing?
All sorts of things. Montana passed a right to compute law, maybe aimed at ensuring access to AI training resources. North Dakota explicitly prohibited AI robots from stalking. New York is requiring state agencies to publish information about any automated decision-making tools they use, and also strengthening worker protections related to AI monitoring.
Wow. Okay, so a real mix. How does this compare to, say, Europe?
It's a sharp contrast. The EU has its Unified AI Act. It's already undergoing phased implementation. Rules on prohibited AI practices started back in February 2025. Rules for general-purpose AI models like GPT kick in this August 2025. And the main provisions for high-risk AI systems are set for August 2026. One consistent framework across the bloc.
That's a very different philosophy, unified versus fragmented. How does China fit into this global picture, both on regulation and development?
China's making a really interesting strategic shift right now. Baidu, the tech giant there, has historically been pretty opposed to open sourcing its big models.
Right? They kept them proprietary.
But this week, they released their Ernie 4.5 model family. And these are big models, up to 424 billion parameters under a permissive open source Apache 2.0 license.
Whoa. That is a shift. Why would they do that?
It seems to directly challenge the dominance of Western closed model companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. It aligns with China's broader national strategy for AI sovereignty and technological self-reliance. It could significantly alter the global balance between open and closed AI ecosystems.
This really highlights tension, doesn't it? How do we, as a global society, balance this incredibly rapid innovation with the need for responsible development, for safety, for ethical oversight, especially when different major powers are taking such vastly different paths? That's the challenge we're going to keep seeing play out.
It's the central question, really.
Okay, we always love to give you something actionable, something practical you can experiment with yourself based on what we've discussed.
Absolutely.
Time for the practice of the week. And this week, we're diving into a pretty cool prompt engineering technique, asking the AI to actually help design itself, or at least a version of itself.
That's right. It sounds a bit meta, but it's powerful. Imagine giving an AI like ChatGPT or Claude a prompt something like this. You are an AI research assistant. Outline a modified transformer architecture specifically optimized for text summarization. Focus on any changes you'd suggest to the attention mechanisms or the encoder-decoder structure that would improve the summary's coherence and factual accuracy. And importantly, provide the rationale for each modification.
Okay, so you're not just asking for a summary, you're asking it to think like an AI researcher and propose improvements to the underlying summarization technology itself, leveraging its own knowledge base about AI architectures.
Exactly. And because these models have been trained on vast amounts of research papers and technical documentation,
So it can point and copy facts.
precisely. For longer documents, it might suggest hierarchical attention, which helps the model focus on different levels of detail more effectively. And crucially, the prompt asks for the rationale. The AI explains why it's suggesting these changes, which is incredibly valuable for learning and understanding.
So what are the practical benefits for someone trying this?
Well, first, it enables really rapid prototyping. You can generate ideas, maybe even pseudocode or architectural diagrams for novel model concepts in seconds instead of spending hours or days digging through research papers. Second, you can batch and iterate. Try the prompt, see the suggestions, then refine the prompt with new constraints like optimize for speed or use less memory, and see how the design update changes the output. Third, you could potentially automate parts of this into R&D workflows, saving significant time.
Did you see any results from this? Like, does it actually work?
Yeah. Some internal tests apparently showed that engineers using suggestions generated this way by models like ChatGPT could improve a baseline summarization model's RJ score.
Rouge score that measures summary quality, right? Accuracy overlap with human summaries.
Exactly. They saw about an 8% improvement in the Rouge score in just a couple days of implementing the AI suggestions. That potentially saved them maybe 20, 30 hours of manual research per engineer.
That's a massive time saver and a measurable quality improvement. Wow.
It really demonstrates the potential of using AI for AI.
That's a really great practical takeaway. Okay, what a week in AI. Seriously, from these groundbreaking capability leaps, like AI outperforming experienced doctors on specific tasks, to these absolutely seismic shifts in the market dynamics, the talent landscape. It's just clear. AI isn't just progressing anymore. It feels like it's transforming at an exponential rate.
It really does. We've seen the rapid, almost startling mainstreaming of generative AI tools. We've seen the definitive progress toward agentic systems. And woven through it all is this urgent, incredibly complex challenge of how to regulate this powerful technology on a global scale and drive security. This week's brief has really shown us that AI is fast becoming this integrated utility. It's shifting from just being a tool we use to becoming more like a crucial partner, at least a very powerful assistant in our daily and professional lives.
That's a great summary. It really leads to the final thought, the provocative question maybe for you, our listener, to mull over. As AI becomes so much more integral to our daily routines, our work, our decision-making, what new forms of human-AI collaboration will emerge that truly redefine what we even mean by intelligence? And perhaps more importantly, how do we collectively ensure that all this incredible progress ultimately serves humanity's best interests?
Big questions.
Definitely ones to keep thinking about. All right, make sure you tune in to next week's AI Market Brief, because on our watch list for the coming days, we're keeping a very close eye on a landmark AI copyright case that's set to go before a U.S. court, could have huge implications. Also, the World Bank is holding its AI policy forum, convening policymakers from over 70 countries, so we'll be watching for any outcomes there. And of course, the rumor mill is buzzing about potential new open source model drops from players like Cohere, maybe Mistral again, Hugging Face. Yeah, they could once again really shake up the balance between open and proprietary AI. And ChatGPT 5 and Grok 4, that's our deep dive for this week. I'm James.
And I'm Caitlin. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and leave us a comment. Which move will you add to your playbook?
From all of us here at AI Market Brief, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more analysis on the AI frontier.